Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Care Anywhere. I'm your host, Lea Sims. We are recording our podcast this week live from ICN, the International Council of Nurses 2025 Congress here in beautiful Helsinki. Gorgeous. My first time in Helsinki. I am joined today by two amazing nurses, Karlene and Andrea. They're going to talk to us about their experiences specifically in rehabilitative care. So I'm so excited to have you both on the podcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'd love for you to share with our audience a little bit about yourselves. So introduce yourselves and then we'll jump in.
Oh, hi, I'm Andrea Christie, and I'm a registered nurse for 23 years. And I have been working in rehabilitation for those 23 years. And I'm also a registered midwife. And I also work, of course, in the public sector in Jamaica, that is.
In Jamaica, both
Yes,
from Jamaica.
we are from
Probably should
Jamaica.
have said that up front. Wonderful. Yes, love that. All right. Question we ask almost every nurse on our podcast, primarily because our audience is mostly global nurses and many of them entering the profession or thinking about entering the profession. Would love to hear what inspired you to become a nurse. Every nurse I talk to has a different story and a different career path, which is one of the amazing things about this profession. So many ways to navigate the profession. How did you get started? What inspired you to spend your career in healthcare, taking care of people?
Initially, before I started nursing, that is, I actually had no inspiration for nursing. I was actually interested in nutrition. I really wanted to be a nutritionist growing up, and I didn't get through to university to start that. So I started working, and of course, working at an auto place, and I really wanted a career. And I told myself that, okay, I went and bought the newspaper and I saw this nursing course. And I said, I think I'm going to do nursing. It was for 6 months and I said, yes, if I can get a career in 6 months, I am going to do it. And a friend of my mom said, I heard you're going to be doing nursing. That's great. Thank you for joining me, because she's a nurse.
Oh, there you go.
And of course, when I told her where I was going to go, she said, no, that's not nursing. You should go to the Kingston School of Nursing. That is registered nursing. And from then I entered and I was accepted and I started. And I tell everyone that I accidentally went into nursing, but I stayed in it on purpose.
That's great. That's great. Karlene, what about
My
you?
experience is a little bit different. I was born in a large family, and as the oldest sibling in the family, you are taught to care for the younger. So the act of caring was instilled in me from very early. So I've always wanted to be a nurse from that time. However, because of the economic situations and all of that, I never realized my dream. I still was dreaming, and I never realized my dream until after I've got married, had 3 children, and all of that. And I worked in various places, right? And I remember I was home help. So I was the nanny and the housekeeper. And I said to my boss one day, I've always loved nursing, and I think I want to go and do nursing. And she's an educator. And she laughed that afternoon. She came home for lunch. And she laughed and she said, I am not sending any of my helpers back to school again, because it's something that she continues to help persons to, improve on their education status. And I said, I'm not asking you to send me. I'm going. And I realized that she took that seriously. And I remember the family members coming and say, I hear you want to do nursing and we are behind you 100%. And they were 100% behind me all the way. So here am I, purposefully, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
You love it. I haven't met a nurse yet that didn't love it. It's an amazing thing. Such a great profession. How did you both navigate through nursing specifically to rehabilitative care?
After we finish school, there is the licensing exam. Right. So after you finish your license, you pass your licensing exams, the situation is different now. So they normally place you in the different institutions. So when they placed me at that institution, I loved pediatrics, and I was working as a graduate nurse in pediatrics when I got the news that I'm to move to rehabilitation center. And I was furious. And I remember the nurse manager there saying to me, Karlene, go. It's not bad. And I came into rehabilitation and I loved every moment of it. Because what happened, rehabilitation taught me to care for the complete person. It's not just about your injury, it's about the complete person.
That's amazing. Yes, beautiful.
Right. It's a similar situation because we were trained by the government. So once you're trained by the government or they pay for it, you are placed at a facility that they deem that is in need of a nurse at that time.
Right.
And of course, I too wanted to specialize in pediatrics. And when I was placed at the facility that I was placed at, that's a rehabilitation facility, I was very, very, very furious. Very furious to the point where I wanted to leave, like maybe a few days afterwards. But a then president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica said to me, and those words stuck with me. She said, "You're a new nurse. Why not make a difference?" And those words stuck with me until now, and I've never looked back. And I felt like I took too long to get here.
Yeah.
I felt like I took too long to get into nursing and to get into rehabilitation because my patients, they are the love of my life.
Well, you've both touched on something there. Obviously, rehabilitative nursing is undersold as a specialty to nurses, and maybe not one that people, generally gravitate towards. But once you're there, you find out how unique and special it really is.
Find out how unique and special it is, and we are grossly undervalued, very undervalued. We are not seen as on par with the acute care nurses or nurses who specialize in acute care. We are not seen as that. So it is not something that persons or nurses or students gravitate towards readily, especially, I'm not sure how globally that is, but I know in Jamaica, students do not really gravitate
I think it's
towards
a concern.
rehabilitation. But when you do get into rehabilitation and you experience the reward and the recovery of patients and how they feel and how they internalize the care that you give them and how much you put out for them, it's so rewarding.
I would say at an acute care level, you're discharging patients, hopefully in improved condition. But rehabilitative care, you're giving them their life back. Giving them their life
Giving
back.
them a purpose back.
Yeah, and purpose. Yes, beautiful. Karlene, did you want to add to that?
Yes, I want to add to that. One of the greatest is to see your patients recover and they're able to do some level of functioning, because all persons do not recover at the same functional level.
Yeah.
And outside of that, we keep contact with some of those patients because their rehabilitation starts at rehabilitation center or hospital, but it doesn't end there. They will need follow-up, they will need encouragement, they will need assistance. For me, I have a set of patients that I collect their medications for them. I have some ladies who their UCAT is to be changed. At the time I go to their house, I change it, all free of cost, all on me.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful having, and sometimes they will call you at any hour. They want to know that they have somebody that they can call on when they're in their greatest need.
You're
Because
more
sometimes-
embedded in their daily lives.
Right.
Yes.
So they need that extra person in their lives.
Yeah.
And one of the things is too, the family. The family. It's not just the healthcare professionals need to be abreast with what is happening with the patient themselves, the family also, because it's extra stress, extra expense on them, but they need to know that they have somebody they can lean on to give them direction as to the other disciplines, that the other agencies that can help them to help their recovery and their rehabilitation process a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things we've talked about on this podcast for nearly a year now, just based on the work that we're doing with rehabilitative care certification exams and credentials, is that generally people are not aware of how many people in the world need rehabilitative care that don't have access to it and need it on a continuing or long-term basis. It's an astonishing number of people. It's somewhere in the 2 billion, 2.4, I think, or 2. Billion people. When you consider the global population of just over 8.5 billion, that's a significant percentage of people on the planet who need rehabilitative care that you guys are providing.
and will need.
and will need at some point in their life, for many reasons, and not just trauma or war or climate change. Those contribute, obviously, but chronic disease is really
It's very common.
the driver.
The things that they're
And you
for persons to be mindful of.
Yep.
That you will need rehabilitation because chronic diseases can become very debilitating.
Yep.
And they sometimes do not even associate or align rehabilitation with chronic diseases, but you do need it
Yep.
at times.
Quite a bit.
And just to add that one in there, to the autoimmune conditions are on the rise as
Right.
well that
Yep.
need rehabilitation.
Yeah, respiratory care, long term. Yeah, cardiac.
So
Absolutely.
one of the things is that sometimes person narrow rehabilitation to mean a spinal cord injury or stroke or so on, but rehabilitation takes all the body systems. It
Yeah.
takes in, this is a very wide field, and the more we come to recognize that we're talking about the total man here, and
Yeah.
rehabilitation can affect injuries or trauma can affect any system that will need rehabilitation.
So, can you guys share your experience, how you're bringing visibility and awareness to the importance of the subspecialty in Jamaica?
So one of the things that we have been doing, let me just say that we are actually the sole institution that offers rehabilitation care in Jamaica.
The only one.
The only one.
Wow.
That offers and a matter of fact, it spreads to the Caribbean because we are a referring facility, the English-speaking Caribbean that is, and we do take referrals from the region and other international countries. We do take reference from them. But so one other thing, because I've often said that persons do not view paralysis or do not view the patients beyond the paralysis. They believe that there is nothing else left for them. And we are trying to change that mindset. We're trying to change that stigma that is so aligned with rehabilitation, especially in Jamaica, because our system came out of a pandemic, or rather an endemic of polio in the 1950s. That's how our organization or our institution came about. So from that, the society is still thinking of us of that in that mind frame, to say that we are only dealing with people who have been paralyzed because of some virus or polio, as they call it. Right. But we have moved so much away from that and into brain and spinal cord injury, and we have been trying to promote that. We have gone into schools, we have gone into facilities to train, to teach our colleagues. We have been doing that, and we have been doing that through symposiums. We have been doing that through training, internal training as well, and we have been promoting that as much as we can. As a matter of fact, I have gone as far as into the Nursing Council of Jamaica to educate them on rehabilitation care, and I've also joined with Julia on
That's Julia Tobacco.
yes, on the global healthcare worker certification examination steering committee. So through that, I have been trying to promote through the Ministry of Health to get them to appreciate this specialty and to invest in this specialty.
Well, you just kicked off our next question that I wanted to ask, was about your role in helping develop the frameworks and the exams. I'd love to know from both of you, as we get close to wrapping up, what will be the value in terms of visibility and awareness and career building for nurses in Jamaica and in the Caribbean with these certifications? Do you see the value in what those certifications can bring to the profession?
Right, the nursing is world class. And when we are accredited and we are brought up to par with the other, with a one world nation of care, then care will be for all across, all board. So when we have accreditation that is aligned with what the rest of the world is at, where the rest of the world is at, then our patients will benefit and our society at large will be better able. Because really and truly, we have had patients who have had their injuries. And remember, An injury can happen to any one of us, right? Who have had your injury. There are educators, there are doctors, there are lawyers, there are teachers, there are budding students, and they go out there and they are rehabilitated and they go back into the workforce to make meaningful contribution to the society, and that is what we want. So when we have a healthier workforce, a healthier patient, then we have a healthier workforce, and our economic capability will be stronger.
And I'd like to say also that in terms of value, I believe that once rehabilitation nurses are credited or they are certified, then it improves the value that they add to the health system. In terms of globally, sometimes I believe I've read somewhere where it impacts their salary worth because they are not certified.
Yes.
So I believe that will also improve their value for remuneration. And of course, it improves the value that the quality of care that they are giving is valid and well certified.
It brings credibility, I think,
it
too,
brings
around the subspecialty, not just the nurse. You talked about earlier that there's an affinity for acute care nursing, and that, and certainly that's where a lot of nurses want to go. They want to work on the front lines of acute care, but being able to get this certification, I would think, would also lend some weight and value to the subspecialty itself.
Exactly, it would. Just as it does with pediatric or critical care, it will. Right, it should.
Karlene?
You have acute rehabilitation, and that's where we need to educate our colleagues about where rehabilitation starts in the acute care. And very often, the patients sustain more injury during the acute care phase, but until we get them, because when we get them, they already have contractures, they have the decupitous ulcers, and a lot of things, the pneumonia and all of those things going on for them. So we need to educate our acute care nurses as well that rehabilitation starts at the acute care phase.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I believe that's one of the drive, and also one of the drive that I believe True Merit is trying to push through the ICN is that it starts at the primary level.
Yes.
And once we get that into the primary system and the primary care, then we will be able to even add more value and be able to teach our patients in how to care for themselves and even the relatives as well.
And it's a collaboration. It's a spectrum of care that starts at the acute level and carries through rehab. And the greater partnerships you can build there with your colleagues, the better for your patients. Thank you so much for being here. My last question, and I don't even think I put this in the questions. I'd love to know how long you guys have been working together and how did you come to know each other?
Okay, I have been working the longest here at the facility, 23 years, and they came on, so we have been working since. I believe
We used to joke around. You're old in career, but I'm old in age.
Longer in career. I gotcha.
but we have been pushing.
Because our center is a very closely knitted area, then we are like family.
Yeah.
So we work well together.
That's great. Well, it's been wonderful to have you both. I know that you're doing some great work. We want to thank you, True Merit. Thank you for the contributions you're making to the work we're doing in terms of building those frameworks and pushing those exams out and building credibility around both the profession and the professionals that are doing that. Thank you guys for being here. It was so great to have you. Thank you again for joining us. Again, if you're here at ICN, come by and see us at the True Merit booth. We are in booth P2A, right next to the ICN booth when you first walk into the exhibit hall. If you're tuning in for the first time for this episode, you can find all of our podcasts at truemerit.org/podcast. They're also available for subscription on your favorite streaming channels for podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google, all of those. You'll find us out there. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. That's it for this episode of Care Anywhere. Thanks for joining us. We hope you'll tune in for future episodes where we will continue these powerful discussions about our global health workforce. If you missed any episodes, you can find them at truemerit.org/podcast or by subscribing to our channel on your favorite podcast platform. Just look for our podcast logo or search for Care Anywhere to find us. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.